All right, well, welcome everyone. National Signing Day 2019. We're excited to talk about our signees and also excited about this is the day for all those that sign, but we're excited for them. We're also excited about the return missionaries that we're getting in this program this year, and also the preferred walk-ons that we have that have committed to play here. So excited for that. Happy that the most committed media members could brave the storm and get here, and thank you so much for being here and covering BYU football. To my right, I have our offensive coordinator, Jeff Grimes. Answer any questions you have for him. To my left, I have Ed Lamb, who's our special teams coordinator and assistant head coach, and our defensive coordinator, Elisa Tuyaki. So I'll open up I guess I'll open it up for you guys and answer any questions you may have. If you want to ask me and if you want to just throw it up in general, just say it, ask a question. But if you want to ask someone specifically, then these are the guys. So they speak a lot better than I do on these recruits. So I'll leave it open to you. It's like a 10-second. This is like fast and testimony meeting. You got to step up. Okay.
We need a mic. No mic.
Go ahead, speak up.
Kalani, did you, some of these guys are listed as athletes. Did you get the running back, maybe you out of that group, you feel like can come in and help you?
I think we have we have a good group of running backs in our program right now, and I think to add to the competition, we've had some of these guys I think will really fit, and whether or not they're the guys that we feel really comfortable with the group that we brought in. I mentioned with preferred walk-ons and with our return missionaries, and in addition to the guys that we've signed as athletes. I got guys on my left that want the athletes to play defense, and guy on my right that wants them to play on offense. And so we'll see what's best for the team and what's best for the individual and where we can project him having a lot of success. And in order for us to do that, I thought it was important that we recruit guys that cover a lot of different spots and different positions, and that's the need for all those athletes. And we have guys that played quarterback that aren't going to play quarterback in our team, and that's okay. But I think they did the right thing for their high school team, putting the best athlete handle the ball every down. But for us, it'll be kind of a mixture of coaches and player figuring out where the best fit would be for him.
Coach Tuyaki, you mentioned last year the importance of these preferred walk-ons, and you used one in Belbakri this year. Could you describe how that worked out and what hopes you might have for some that coming down the line?
Yeah, Bracken O'Backer did a really good job for us, obviously, and played and earned a scholarship. And sometimes in recruiting, it's not a perfect science, and kids that you're excited about might, for one reason or another, might not have, contributed as much as you thought. And then some kids that you didn't really know about, or kids that might not have been as highly recruited, end up stepping up and filling roles and doing things for you. And so for us, just to make sure that we get the best team out there, these preferred walk-ons are really important to us. Kids that are turned down opportunities to go elsewhere, to come here, to come and walk on, and potentially earn a scholarship, and those guys are huge. And so, like you mentioned, Bracken's one of them. Dax Milne on the offensive side is another one, and one of the running backs that Kalani's alluding to is Tyler Algier is another. I mean, there's a lot of guys that we recruit to come as walk-ons, and they're certainly guys that have contributed on both offense, defense, and special teams. But it's a big part of our program, and I know Kalani's talked about recruiting the team first before we go out and recruit other people. I've been talking to this; it wasn't on the whole time. Kalani's been talking about recruiting the team first before we're going to recruit other positions, and I think it's important to our head coach as well as our program to make sure that we take care of the kids that are in the program that have contributed, that deserve a scholarship before we go out and find others. And who you're talking about is a fine example of that.
Coach Lamb, how many preferred walk-ons do you expect to be here for the fall, as opposed to maybe going on a mission and then coming back?
Preferred walk-ons total for the team for the fall.
So with the preferred walk-ons, we can't talk about them by name, but we can. Yeah, you can give them a number. We can confirm if they are preferred walk-ons. So that's the only thing we can do.
Yeah, as you know, some of those guys will, like, their maybe mission plans still might be up in the air, and we want to remain flexible for what's best for them. But it looks like we're just kind of counting it up right here. 8 or 9 of those that we announced today will be here for this fall.
Could you ever coach recruited JaVale Brown? Talk about just him and what he brings.
Yeah, JaVale, I'm running this through my mind because I want to make sure and not say anything that he wouldn't want me to say. But I think he would feel proud of this. When I first started recruiting him over a year ago, he just the recommendation by his head coach and the academics just didn't fit what I thought we needed at BYU. Obvious athletic talent and always fun to watch, and he was fun for me to talk to, but I just kind of kept putting him off, so to speak. And just on a whim one day as we were talking, I said, this was last spring, I said, you need to get straight A's, and your coach needs to start talking about you differently. And he did that. He got A's in physics and economics and math and English, and I think he's well prepared now to be successful at BYU. From an athletic standpoint, there was never any question, and he's going to add a lot to our team wherever he ends up playing. Coach Grimes alluded to it earlier. He's played all over the field. You can see that on his highlight video. You can see that when you talk to his coach and him, and he's got the right attitude. He'll fit where we want him, and I think he's ready to excel.
Coach Grimes, the 3 offensive linemen you guys signed in this class, what excites you about those 3? What do you expect from them?
Well, I think first, just they passed the eyeball test. All 3 of those guys are big, they're physical, and that's one thing that I think at BYU, in most cases, we don't have to sacrifice size. We have big guys, and we have historically had big guys, and so I like their size. But I think all 3 of them are good athletes. Eli and Blake probably tackles, tall, longer guys, really good feet. They kind of fit that mold. And then Gunderson being a guy that'll probably play inside, a little bit different kind of guy, played in a triple option offense, but a real physical brawler of a player. And I think all 3 of them will eventually be really good players for us. How soon that is obviously yet to be determined, with a couple of them going on missions anyway. But I think their size and athleticism, that combination is something that's a real positive.
Coach Grimes, 2 of the higher profile guys are Jacob Conover and Chase Roberts. Can you maybe discuss them and their prospects? Yeah.
So Jacob, Fessy and A-Rod knew him before I did, and they had seen him in recruiting and different camps and that sort of thing. And so we went by the high school back when we were recruiting Gunner. Went to the same high school, Chandler High, and they were talking to me about this guy. And we walked in the weight room, and that's probably not the best place to evaluate Jacob first, because he's not a big physical specimen. And I said, okay, well, we'll see. And didn't know a whole lot about him. I had just taken the job. And then I came back in the spring. I recruit Arizona, so I came back in the spring, and it being one of my schools, went by and spent most of the day there and watched him and talked to people about him and watched an entire practice, watched him warm up, watched him throw individual cuts with receivers, one-on-one, pass skill, team, and I never saw him throw a bad ball. I mean, the guy just, every throw was within a normal catching radius for everybody that he threw to. And then I watched how everyone responded to him, and everyone from little kids who were there just to watch practice to someone's grandfather that was there, to his coaches, to his teammates, completely comfortable talking with every one of them. Just a very, very confident kid, but is so in a very comfortable way, not at all arrogant or cocky, but just the right amount of confidence that he's a phenomenal leader. And so we're excited about him for all of those reasons. And then Chase, I got to know a little bit better than most recruits too. My son goes to American Fork, so I got to go to those games. And so every time we were at home this year, I was able to go to an AF game. And they had a great season, so it was a lot of fun to watch him. and get to know him maybe a little bit better than some other recruits, being there at every single game and being close to the program and close to the coaches there. It was really fun to watch him this season. We knew he was talented, unbelievable combination of size, speed, and hands. But the thing that impressed me the most about him this year was his competitiveness. You know, go up over the middle and go up to get a ball that's 10 feet high, knowing that he's going to get drilled, make the catch, come down hard, go get taped up, and then come right back in the next series. Just a great competitor, a phenomenal young man from a great family, and so can't wait to get those two guys back here for sure.
Coach Tuiaki, the signing of Cade Albright, kid out of Southern California, we saw his recruitment, a bunch of P5 schools you guys beat out for him. What excites you about him?
He brings a lot to the table, just his pass rush ability. But even more than that, he's a great kid. He's a great fit for our program. You know, he came on his trip, did a really good job with his parents, and I mean, just fits. I mean, fits the kids that we have currently. But definitely brings a lot to the table athletically. His ability to rush the passer, and I think he fits the mold of some of the DNs that we have that we're kind of trying to do like Corbin, where they can stand up and rush the edge and drop as well and just do a bunch of different things. But he fits that mold.
Sitake, the numbers were small in this signing because you did before Christmas. You had the other signing period, but after winning a bowl game the way you did, have you noticed that your approach and your reception has been increased? The interest is a little higher?
No, recruiting's not conditional on really the games or anything like that. It's just we've been on these guys for a long time, you know, and I don't think that the way our style is really going to change, whether the type of season that we have, you know, it's not predicated on wins and losses for how we recognize guys, how we target them, and our relationship that we develop with our recruits. I think that's something that you talked about. Ed connected with Javel from last year, you know, and so we recruit a lot of young guys, and there's limitations in recruiting and what you can do, but the connection that we have with them is trying to get them primed for BYU, whether it's in academics or where we can project where we think they're going to grow. So that process is always going. It's an ongoing process, and for us in recruiting, I mean, this is a smaller class because a lot of the guys that we have that are coming back, but also, you know, recruiting is not over. There's still some time to see if there's any more bodies that we can add to the mix, and I think we did that last year. We'll do it again this year, and we'll see who shows up in the next few months from now until August. But yeah, we're just really happy with our group. I don't. We had a really great retention rate with our official visits. You're allowed 56 official visits, and because a high group of our guys that come, I mean, I would say 2 to 3 out of the guys that visit, 2 out of the 3 commit right away. And we had a bunch that were open for preferred walk-ons, and we felt like we've had a number of walk-ons that could have potentially been walk-ons for us, and then we let them slip through the cracks, and they went to other places like FCS programs. And all we had to do was really work harder to get them here. And so bringing them on a visit and using one of those 56 official visits was a huge important part of our recruiting process this year and last year. And then making the conscious decision as a coaching staff to recruit within our team first and then going outside. And what we've noticed is that I have a bunch of coaches here that are humble enough to accept the fact that some guys develop later, and you can probably project some of it, but there's sometimes that we just miss on it. Chad Lewis, Dennis Pitta, there's a lot of great walk-ons, Doug Jolly, those that came here. But there's also some even great ones that if we would have probably brought them on a visit or spent more time recruiting them, that they would have came also. So hopefully in this last 2 classes of preferred walk-ons, we can really get some big-time players that can help us and maybe have the type of careers that some of the successful walk-ons have had in the past. And now we're looking at a roster of 123 to build a depth chart rather than just 85 scholarship spots. And I have coaches that have started preferred walk-ons, even freshmen, that have started on our team on both offense and defense, and a lot of them played on special teams because of these three coaches and their leadership, and they're willing to put the best guys on the field. And that's really promising when guys see that, and there's a proof of that that competition really does pay off, and we will play the best. And so, with that being said, it's important that we scholarship the right guys as well, and that's probably going to happen a lot more within than years past, and it's because we've recruited a lot of those guys. So, but back to the original question, I don't know if that had really anything to do with it. We're always going to target certain guys that fit this program and fit the demands that we have here on the football field and in academics.
Maybe asking it a different way, the bowl game and the success at the bowl game, what rewards have you seen, even inter-squad, maybe in workouts, enthusiasm, maybe the approach is a little bit different than a year ago, things like that?
Yeah, there's excitement. I think the huge benefit was really just getting the extra practices. We practiced every one of them, and there's some guys that thought bowl practice was harder than fall camp, so we'll just make fall camp harder, and try to get in a position where we can win. So I don't know. I just don't think it. If we don't take advantage of every moment we can to get better as a team, we missed those 15 last year. So having that this year has really helped our team develop and get better and get excited about the season. And then now going to spring ball, which starts in a month, there's a lot of excitement, a lot of energy. And I have to give a lot of credit to our coaches, but also to our players and the leadership that we have on this team. We have a lot of young leaders that don't mind stepping in the spotlight and helping the teammates out. And I'm just excited to get started in spring ball.
It's a little bit different at BYU with the missions and how it goes, but how do you as a head coach evaluate the success of a recruiting class? How do you kind of look at it years down the road and look back and say, okay, that class, how do you kind of evaluate the success of a given class?
Well, I mean, I think that's kind of hard to answer in one phrase, right? So, and for us, we're getting guys that are, we signed 2 years ago, and the reason why we have to mention them is because you guys forgot about all of these guys, and so I think it's a longer process here. And when guys that go on missions, I mean, we had like a missionary go to a place where he lost 60 pounds, and happy to say he gained it all back now, right? But that takes some time, so you have to be flexible in your strength and conditioning, and also in projecting these positions, and also being able to just make sure not to give them too much to work with, and give them what they can accomplish. But I don't know exactly if you can sit there and say, okay, this is why we're successful. This was a successful recruiting class. I think every class for us is the fit, and I look at guys, and it's easier now to transfer with the transfer portal, and but that's not always a negative thing, and I've mentioned it before that guys transfer because there are a number of things. One is most important, probably the most logical one is that they want to play more. And in a team that offers a bunch of competition, it's harder here to start. It's just the days of being and I've seen this happen in a lot of different teams, but where a starter is a starter until forever, it's just not going to work. So even when Corbin Kafusi came back, and we're excited, it was a surprise. Where not a lot of people thought he was going to play, but even when he came back, he had to practice that week. And if he wasn't going to practice, Devin was going to start in front of him. And that's just the process that we have. And as much as I love him and how painful it was to see him go through all that pain in practice through the week, it had to happen in order for us to do it the right way and start the right guys and make sure that competition we play the best. And that's the goal right here. So I think our recruiting classes are all successful because we're getting the right guys that fit the program. And there's so many different aspects and not just football talent.
Kalani, the transfer portal is really in vogue right now. We hear about it all the time in the media. How has it affected your guys in terms of how you go out and recruit? Are you guys planning on being players with the portal, like getting guys off of that, or does it affect it at all for you?
So there's two parts. One is the graduate transfer aspect, and that's either one, whether you're a graduate transfer or a undergrad transfer, they still have to deal with the demand that we have of school. Academics, we have a standard in academics, and that's just the way it is. We recruit to that standard. And so if a young man wants to transfer from another school and there's interest on our part, we start right away with academics. We start with honor code, and we start with the football stuff. The football part is the one that triggers us even looking into the academic fit. And so I think a lot's been said about admissions and everything, and I just think that that's our job to make sure that we get the right guys to fit the program. And there's guys that want to come here, but if they want to play here, they have to understand that there's got to be a fit with the lifestyle, a fit on the football field, and definitely a fit in the academics as well. And that's just always going to be part of recruiting. So does that answer your question? Yeah. So I don't know if we're going to major in recruiting out of the portal. We look into it, but there's got to be standards that are met in academics and in the lifestyle.
Coach Lamb, two incoming JC defensive backs, both of them from the same junior college. Can you discuss both those guys?
Sure. The lion's share of the work on that was done with Coach Hadley and Coach Guilford. Coach Guilford identified that he felt like even though we have a lot of young, promising players in the secondary and even some guys that have played really well, that we still need guys that are ready for college football. And so we identified the need for junior college or transfer recruits. The other big help on getting those two guys was Coach Casey Mazzota. And Casey and I were here as players and teammates at BYU way back. And we've actually been trying to get a couple of his guys here over the years, and just hasn't worked out for whatever reason. It wasn't a fit one way or the other. But stuck with it, and Coach Hadley took over that area here in the last year or so and made that connection first with Eric. And I think Eric's going to bring to us a lot of speed, his man coverage ability, his ability to run with his back to the quarterback, which is really critical, the way that we play quite a bit up at the line of scrimmage. And he's got great length in the way that he plays. And then Dimitri, probably one of the best junior college or high school guys that I've seen at bump and run coverage. He just, I don't know if it's trained by his high school coach, dad, college coach. I don't really know. We haven't gone into it, and I don't know him as well as Coach Guilford and Coach Hadley. But he stands at the line of scrimmage, does not back up, stays low, gets in front of the receiver. So many times on the video that I watched, the game video, the quarterback, he can't even look in that direction because the receiver's not off the line of scrimmage. So I hope he'll bring that physicality to us and teach some of the other guys how to play with his success.
Kalani, this is your first, in terms of the return missionaries coming back, this is kind of the first group that's really your guys coming back off missions. What do you expect from that group? I know some of them are mid-year enrollees, but what do you expect from them coming back off of missions? Are you expecting an immediate impact, or is it something you can long play with them?
A mixture of all of it, but, and to clarify, they're all my guys, right? So I know you guys always say that, but they're all our guys. And so I'm just proud that they served missions and that they thought of others and sacrificed their own money and their own time in the prime part of their life to help others in foreign lands for most of them, right? So excited that we get that person back. And the bodies are all going to be different. The great thing about the redshirt rule is that we were allowed the 4 games to play them. And I like that they're 4 games spread out. You don't have to be at the beginning, or you can use any 4 games. And so for most of these return missionaries, the impact will probably be more towards the back end of the season, especially if they're a development guy or have had a lot of weight loss or weight gain on their missions. And so we were able to do that a little bit last year, and it worked out well and helped our depth on our team. And so, and especially for a young man that knows that there's possibly a chance he's going to play, even if he redshirts, it just puts more sense of urgency on them to be ready. And so we'll see. I think asking a young man that gets home in July to be ready to play football against Utah in August is going to be hard, right? But maybe giving him the goal of trying to play towards the end of the season in the 8th or 9th game or whatever, I think that's something that would be a good goal from him to achieve. And in years past, that same individual would have to just wait an entire year. And so it would be great for him to be motivated during that time to get ready to play 4 games and then have the opportunity to be a freshman again. So we're excited that we have that rule, and I think it's really good for college football.
Kalani, I spoke with Puka Nakua just about 20 minutes ago. I guess he's pulled back on his commitment from SC. Are there any conversations about jumping in on that sweepstakes?
Trying to get me in trouble.
Confirm where we are recruiting.
We are still recruiting people. I'm not even gonna look at you because I want to get you. So yeah, next question. Yeah, I mean I can't comment on guys that haven't signed with us. So
Probably time for 2 or 3 more questions.
my body language is this, right?
Kalani, has it been decided yet how you'll use Luke Andrada? I think that's how you say his name.
Great athlete, tons of speed. I mean, he ran a 10.6 7 times last year as a junior, and so he says he's going to run faster this year, and that's coming from a cold state in Colorado. I think he's doing great in indoor. He's really fast, and he can play a lot of different positions. I think Grimes and his staff, they're really excited and using him in different spots. Right, Jeff? I mean,
He does best when he's carrying the ball rather than defending it.
but he's also going to. We plan on him running track as well, and we have a great relationship with other sports on campus, and guys that are playing baseball and football. We had guys that played basketball and football, so I think we're going to kind of tap into the track part, and so it's nice that we have a connection with him, but we also have the connection with the other coaches that are recruiting some athletes out there. So always looking. I remember a few years ago I asked the members to help us, with referrals for recruiting, and just say thank you to everyone that's helped us with that. It's working really well, and keep bugging Alema Fitisi Manu with those names. And so if there's a big guy in your ward and fast guy in your ward or in your neighborhood, let us know about him.
Any other questions?
Kalani, with regards to the 2-sport athletes, we've heard about you guys playing baseball and basketball. Do you like the versatility of those guys that can play multiple sports, even if they're going to be mainly focusing on football?
Of course. I mean, they're guys that can do it. I mean, there's a lot of guys. There's a bunch of guys on our football team that think they can play other sports. Now, only a few of them can handle the load of doing both. But if they're a guy that can do it, I'm always going to help them achieve their dreams and their goals. And so sometimes in the recruiting process, that's brought up by the individual, by the recruit, and I think it's our job to oblige them and to make sure that we can help them. And so. I think that's something that we have to use. If we're talking about taking care of the young men and helping them, then if their dreams are to do that, then that it's an achievable dream, right? Then it's to be there to help them out. I'm not knocking down any doors in Mike Littlewood or Dave Rose's office trying to say, hey, recruit these guys to your team. If they're guys that have been drafted in that sport or if they've been offered in that sport, then I think it'd be cool to notify them that these guys can play other sports.
Jeff, I stepped in late, but can you just go over this group up front and your thoughts about them, Blake and Brock and those guys, just as a whole, as a unit?
About the offensive linemen?
Yeah, the offensive line.
Yeah, you missed that. Sure, it was the snow. Like all three of them in terms of their size and athleticism, great combination of both. And I think, I've seen Blake play basketball. Great all-around athlete. He can do a lot of things as well, but he sees his future on the offensive line, but he could play a number of positions, I think. Eli is really tall, great athlete, good feet, comes from great bloodlines as well. Both those guys, their dads played here. And Gunderson's a guy that we really like, very physical kid, great run blocker that we think will be able to teach how to pass block.
Anything else?